Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Friday the 20th of June 2025. In today's episode, we cover Europe pushing for diplomacy with Iran, a security breach at the UK's largest airbase, and divisions over a new NATO spending target. But first, UK MPs approve assisted dying legislation. In the UK, MPs debated for the final time the assisted dying bill, ultimately approving it with a majority of 23 votes. The bill, which had reached the third reading, the last vote before it moved to the House of Lords, was highly controversial. It allows terminally ill adults in England and Wales with fewer than 6 months left to live to apply for assisted death, subject to approval by 2 doctors and a panel including a social worker, a senior legal figure, and a psychiatrist. This final provision was added in the previous reading of the bill following an amendment. Prior to this, rather than a panel sign it off, assisted dying requests had to be signed off by a high judge. At the second reading, the bill passed through the Commons with a majority of 55. In both votes, the party whip was suspended by all major parties, meaning that MPs were able to vote any way they wanted without repercussions. It seems that many MPs who had previously backed the bill took issue this time around with the lack of proper safeguards. Conservative MP Dr Ben Spencer called such safeguards inadequate, suggesting that people who feel like or are made to feel like a burden will be harmed by the bill. Similarly, veteran Labour MP Diane Abbott asked, "What could be more unjust than to lose your life because of poorly drafted legislation?" The bill, though, did still have its backers. Conservative MP Kit Malthouse argued that this bill is not about choosing death, it's about choosing how to face it when death is already at the door, and added that he believes the bill has been built in the right way and that all concerns have been carefully considered. Similarly, Labour MP Rachel Hopkins, a co-sponsor of the bill, argued that people who are dying are at the heart of this bill, and that the law needed to be changed in order to allow them to have an element of control over their last days. She insisted that the bill will provide the tightest and safest assisted dying in the world. With the bill now having passed through the Commons, it needs only to pass through the Lords in order to become law. It's worth mentioning, though, that even when the bill is on the statute book, the bill will take 4 years to implement. You're listening to TLDR's daily briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's other channels. Today, we released videos on Trump's plan for a nuclear consortium and a political crisis in Czechia. You can find those videos linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR News on YouTube or Nebula. Foreign ministers in the UK, France and Germany are meeting with their Iranian counterpart in Geneva, Switzerland today, seeking a pathway back to diplomacy over Iran's nuclear programme, amid the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. The European foreign ministers will reportedly tell Iran's foreign minister that the United States, while considering whether to join Israeli strikes on the country, is still open to direct talks. Iran's foreign minister says that Iran will not re-engage in talks with the US until Israel ends its attacks on the country. A key sticking point in the now frozen negotiations is domestic uranium enrichment. The Trump administration is demanding Iran stop enriching uranium altogether, whereas Iran says that while it's willing to discuss limits on enrichment, it rejects the prospect of zero enrichment. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says he'll decide on whether or not to join Israeli strikes on Iran within 2 weeks. Moving back to UK news now, as pro-Palestinian activists managed to break into the country's largest airbase and damage 2 Royal Air Force planes. The security breach at RAF Brize Norton was carried out by 2 members of Palestinian Action, who said they used spray paint and crowbars to target 2 RAF Voyager aircraft, used for transporting and refuelling, and accused the UK of, quote, direct participation in the commission of genocide and war crimes across the Middle East, pointing to RAF surveillance missions flown over Gaza from bases in Cyprus and military support for Israel. The Ministry of Defence condemned what it called the vandalism of Royal Air Force assets, and said the aircraft had not been involved in refuelling or supporting Israeli Air Force jets. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the incident a disgraceful act of vandalism. The government has confirmed that a full security review of the entire defence estate is underway. Brize Norton hosts some 5,800 personnel, 300 civilian staff and 1,200 contractors, so the incident is a major security breach. Next week, we'll see leaders of NATO member states meet for a crucial summit in the Netherlands, where a new increased defence spending target will be at the centre of debate. NATO chief Mark Rutte has proposed a new target for member states to spend 5% of their GDP on defence and security, driven by an increasingly insecure international environment and demands by US President Donald Trump that NATO allies spend more. The proposal would set a 3.5% target for classic defence spending, with the remaining 1.5% to be spent on a wider category of defence-related expenses. Unanimous agreement among the leaders will be required, and despite optimism from Rutte that there's broad support, his success now hangs in the balance after Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced his opposition to the 5% proposal, saying in a letter to Rutte that committing to a 5% target would not only be unreasonable, but also counterproductive, adding that, quote, it would move Spain away from optimal spending and it would hinder the European Union's ongoing efforts to strengthen its security and defence ecosystem. That's all for today. We'll be back with you on Monday, so make sure you subscribe wherever you listen. In the meantime, you can check out the latest episode of our UK politics podcast, Starmageddon. This was a TLDR News production hosted by Ben Blissett, written by Ben Blissett and Rory Taylor, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again on Monday.